So let's have a delve into the new standards for RTOs, and in particular how you can use systems for managing those. So I'm assuming that we've got some eSkilled clients here and some people that are not familiar with eSkilled. So I'll just introduce myself first of all. My name's Scott Rogers. I'm the CEO at eSkilled. I have around about 15 years experience in the vet sector. I've been the CEO of 3 RTOs myself. I'm the CEO of Training Resources Group. Will's our Chief Operating Officer. And Training Resources Group manages a number of brands and companies, some training resource companies such as Compliant Learning Resources, Precision Group, and Total Vet Training Resources, and RTO Learning Materials, and obviously eSkilled RTO management software systems as well. So just in the session today, we're going to be looking at some particular standards. Those are governance, trainer competency, learner support, and training and assessment. And we'll be focusing around these key areas. Most of these areas are actually areas of high non-compliance amongst RTOs at audit. So I think that it's worthwhile focusing our attention on these and how you can utilize systems to better manage compliance and ensure governance with the standards when they come into effect in July. So a bit about eSkilled. So eSkilled is more than a student management system. We think of ourselves as a complete RTO management solution. So we are a learning management system. We are a student management system. One of the, I guess, key differences between our student management system and some of the other, I guess, prominent student management systems is we have a large focus on compliance in our system, and that's what we're going to focus on today. I'm going to be using eSkilled as a case study. Obviously, it's what I'm really familiar with. But even if you're not using our systems, there's a huge amount of value and takeaways that we'll be covering in this session. So there should be value there for everyone, clients or not. So the right system equals a seamless journey. And I think at the heart of the standards for RTOs is really the student. And, you know, these standards are really designed and built to ensure that we provide students with adequate training and obviously, ideally, a great learning experience. So, you know, that journey starts at enrollment. eSkilled utilizes an online enrollment system, which is just seamlessly plugs into any website. But yeah, obviously through to enrollment in the student and learning management systems. For those of you who aren't using a learning management system, maybe you're using more manual process and you know, class-based or work-based training, you may not have a learning management system, but those systems should support the learner journey, monitor and manage progress, and obviously manage your assessment system, obviously through to certification, compliance, and reporting. So we are aware that there's a lot of RTOs still using multiple systems to manage this journey, and we'll talk about some of the challenges that particularly around governance that can come into play when you are using disconnected systems and how that can be a challenge. So yeah, we're going to start with looking at compliance and particularly governance. Governance has been really strengthened in the new standards. Obviously, there's a big focus now on RTOs and being self-assured, and for that reason, I believe they've strengthened the governance requirements and the standards to make, I guess, RTO responsibilities really clear in those standards. So in particular, starting off under governance, RTOs have a responsible to collect, review data from staff, learners, industry, employers, and regulators. So we're going to look at systems for how you can do that, collect data from all of those different industry stakeholders. The second requirement there is obviously once you've collected that data, you need to monitor and evaluate the systems and data that you are collecting. And you also need to show how your RTO uses data for continuous improvement and risk management and mitigation. So these three things, obviously systems are going to help you do this and ensure that you're not going to fall out of compliance with the standards. And now what we're going to do is we're going to look at all the different areas that this governance standard covers, because pretty much standard 4 goes across all of the previous standards within the new standards for RTOs. So I'm going to focus initially on managing trainer credentials and currency. This is one of the largest areas besides assessment that RTOs achieve non-compliance in. We get it, ensuring RTOs maintain competencies, professional development, industry currency, obviously can be really challenging across large workforces or RTOs with really large scopes. The current process that most RTOs are using is spreadsheets, and obviously that doesn't really cut it within the current requirements. It's really hard to meet these requirements just using a spreadsheet alone. Basically, we have to make sure that obviously our trainers and assessors hold relevant credentials and competencies, and that those competencies are current. We also need to make sure that our trainers and assessors have current industry knowledge and skills, and are maintaining their professional development. And current is the word there, and that I think that is the biggest challenge that RTOs face, is not necessarily that their trainers and assessors don't have industry knowledge, but often they can't show that currency. They haven't been necessarily out in industry recently, and have no, or if they have, they often don't have the evidence. So we're going to look at how you can manage, utilize systems to manage that better. So yeah, the problem with spreadsheets is you've got siloed data, right? A spreadsheet off to the side, and there's issues because the evidence within that spreadsheet can date, it can become no longer current, and unless someone's really watching that closely, trainers have expired PD or expired industry current, no longer industry current in the eyes of our regulator, and nobody knows about it because no one's checking and monitoring that spreadsheet on a regular basis. If you've got a large workforce, that's a lot of sheets to look at. And also, obviously, if you're keeping or maintaining multiple trainers and assessors credentials on a single spreadsheet, obviously you've got privacy issues or concerns there. It's difficult to compile and attach evidence in a spreadsheet without having to upload documents and grab links and paste them in. It just makes it hard, and it should be easy. Otherwise, trainers won't do it. Probably one of the biggest problems is that the information is siloed and not connected to other systems that are going to help you manage this information better. Often that leads to non-compliances. So I at eSkilled, and there's a number of systems that I've seen that do have good trainer matrices or a trainer matrix incorporated into their applications. I definitely recommend having a proper system to manage your trainer credentials. In our system, trainers have access to their trainer matrix evidence collection form. So they just pop open this form, select the program or the qualification that the evidence is relevant to, map their units, add an expiry date. An expiry date is really important, because if you don't have an expiry date on evidence, there's no way to track whether that evidence is still current. So I'm a big believer in making sure that you expire everything. That way it can get a review annually. Yeah, so my recommendation would be to expire everything annually. At least someone gets notified to review it and make sure it's still current. Even if it's a unit of competence or a certificate, because if a qualification is superseded, often there's not a lot of warning of that, and suddenly you've got a non-compliance. So I'm a big believer of just expiring everything and making sure that it gets properly reviewed. Mapping in units and making sure you've got adequate coverage of professional development and industry engagement across all the units that your trainers hold. In our system, that information is submitted, and then it goes into a trainer matrix where you can have a holistic view of the trainer can see a holistic view of their evidence. More importantly, if evidence is expired, it will show red under the expiry date, and if a warning will come up showing in orange if trainer currency or evidence is expiring soon. The next and the critical part to our trainer matrix or trainer management system is creating tasks that notify your compliance manager and your trainer. So basically, both people are notified of any evidence that's expiring soon, so they've got adequate time to go out and get new professional development or new engagement. Obviously, the ultimate from a professional development perspective is you actually have internal systems for making sure trainers are up to date. But if this system ensures that no one falls through the gaps, and so within our student management system, you can automate tasks and emails and text messages if you want. So basically, everyone can be notified. A task can be created in the system so it doesn't fall through the gaps, and you know that absolutely that task has been completed. That trainer's gone out and updated their professional development or updated their currency. Their industry currency. A notable change in the standards is the onus is now on the RTO, not the trainer, the RTO, to ensure that trainers are up to date with professional development and provide their trainers and assessors opportunities for that too. So utilizing systems to do your scheduling and making sure you're on top of all of that is going to make that job for your RTO much easier. So trainers have their own view of their trainer matrix, but your compliance or your administration staff or your management team, your CEO, obviously, who's really responsible at the end of the day for all of this, can have access to the global trainer matrix. The cool thing about that is that'll show all trainers within your system, and you can simply filter by trainer or by program or by unit or by evidence type, whether it's qualification, professional development, industry currency. You can then filter to see anything that's coming up for expiry. So, if you want to see evidence that's expired within the next 6 weeks, for instance, you can see that at a glance using this report. And obviously, all of the trainer evidence is linked into that trainer matrix and can be viewed simply and easily from the trainer matrix. And there's the option to export to Excel, which is obviously becomes really handy if you want to export a particular trainer matrix for audit purposes or whatever compliance needs you have in terms of exporting that information from the system. So you've got the ability to really finely filter and keep track of evidence and trainer evidence and currency through the system. But I think the most important thing is the point that I pointed out earlier is the key is having those automations to automatically notify trainers and compliance staff before any evidence expires or no longer current. Another big feature, or I guess expansion of under the standards, is a big focus on complaints and appeals, and in particular, having a systematic approach to managing complaints and appeals, ensuring you've got procedural fairness, so having good processes to ensure that every student gets the same procedural fairness, responding and processing and resolving complaints in a reasonable time frame, and yeah, providing avenues to students or communicating avenues to students that if they're not happy with the complaint response. I think an important part of this standard is how you feed back any learnings from your complaints into your continuous improvement systems, and we'll focus on more on that later, how you can do that. So we have within our student management system, and I would definitely recommend if you don't have this type of system for managing your complaints. So we have in our student portal, in the eSkilled student portal, there's a complaint form that students fill out. That complaint form automatically populates into the complaints register, so that arrives in the register, and a task using our automations feature, you can automate a task to notify whoever's responsible for managing your tasks and managing your complaints, and they can also be automatically assigned a task as well to ensure that task of investigating that complaint or appeal and processing that within your policies, response and complaint handling times is followed. One thing I should mention is within our system, tasks all have the ability to add checklists as well. So when we talk about procedural fairness and ensuring whoever's managing or processing any complaints or appeals is following your internal processes, you can use your task checklists attached to a task to ensure that you've got evidence to show ASQA at audit that all complaints have been processed in line with your complaints and appeals policies and procedures. So I see tasks and task checklists critical for managing compliance and maintaining an audit trail that staff have followed your policies and procedures, and that's often what ASQA wants to see when they come to look at your audit documentation. They don't want to just see your policies and procedures. They actually want to see how evidence of your staff and how you followed those policies and procedures. So yeah, complaints management is completely automated through this process. Obviously, humans still need to get in there and do the actual investigation, but this system ensures that everything is responded to within your organizational policy framework. Another major non-compliance area is industry engagement. The main problem, I think, is staying on top of industry engagement. RTOs will often get out and do some industry engagement when they're delivering a new course or developing and designing a new course, but it's one of those things that you have to maintain currency in that engagement and be able to show evidence of being current and up to date with what's going on in industry. And that's been made really clear under the new standards. So including, so the system needs methods for collecting and reviewing data and feedback, including staff, learners, industry, employers, and regulators. So I think that's something to note. You're not just looking for evidence from industry. You've got to collect evidence from all stakeholders. So in our system, we've got an industry engagement register, and obviously that's an opportunity for you to record all of your industry engagement, attach any evidence of that engagement with industry, and map that back to the programs that you're delivering. You can, again, ensure that your industry engagement doesn't run out of currency by setting review tasks for each for your industry engagement in the system. So you can just set a system-wide automation that tasks whoever's responsible for industry engagement in a particular program to create a task for them. Might be 12 months after the last industry engagement, to ensure that they're tasked with getting out and talking to industry and making sure and the different various stakeholders, to ensure that you've got evidence of maintaining industry currency. Obviously, your trainer matrix is also evidence of that industry engagement, so that you've also got that evidence within your trainer matrix as well. If you wanted, you could log it in both places, just so it's super clear. And the next, so when we talk about the rest of the stakeholders, so if you recall, industry engagement wasn't just industry, it was also learners, trainers. Obviously RTOs already are required to do their get out and do these feedback surveys from students and employers. This information is also accessible from students and employers. So employers in our system can just go into their portal and complete their surveys there. You can automate surveys within the system to make sure they go out and every single time, and you're automating the collection and collation of all of the stakeholder engagement via online learner and employer surveys. Students can complete the surveys from their student portal, and that information then comes into our surveys report, or learner questionnaire report, with an employer questionnaire report. The great thing about that is all the data is filterable, and basically the system makes it really easy for you to analyze and report on what the learnings are from those stakeholders. You can export your reports, and you can upload those into your industry engagement register. So you've got the evidence all collected there. So you've got that evidence trail in one place, which when you're at audit just makes it so much easier. And you can utilize your system filters to really dig down and find out what your various stakeholders think about the courses that you're delivering and what feedback they have. You could also use that export to get out and maybe contact some of those stakeholders to maybe dig in a bit deeper if you wanted to find out a bit more feedback from your existing stakeholders. So the next important focus area is continuous improvement. So all of these other systems, obviously there's learnings from all of them, particularly complaints and appeals and industry engagement as well. You need to be able to show how you've taken all of that, those learnings from all the information that you've collected, collated, and analyzed, and then fed that back into your continuous into your systems and processes, and made changes to implement those learnings. So and you need to be able to show that you've done that. So what we've done and what we've got in our system is a continuous improvement register, and most RTOs have one of these on a spreadsheet or a similar application. Basically, within our system, students can give feedback through their student portal. Employers can also, and trainers can give feedback directly into your continuous improvement register. And similar to all the other registers, that information can be automatically tasked to someone to review and action, or not action if it's not deemed necessary. But obviously you need a system and a process for collecting, collating, and reporting and notifying parties and ensuring that continuous improvement information is not just going to a sheet and being left. And I've seen so many continuous improvement registers where staff are, being really diligent and putting a lot of information in there about, feedback and all the rest of it, but there's no internal process to actually action item or review or process the information that's being provided. So the collection is happening, but there's no review or no implementation. So the only half the system is there, and that's what I often see with sheets. They're great at collecting information, but ensuring things are actioned and actually happen in the real world, that's where things often fall over. So again, tasks can be created, people can be notified. So the moment something's dropped into there, someone can be notified, hey, there's something in the continuous improvement register for you to look at, and a task is created in the system to notify, hey, when they log in, hey, you've got a task, jump in here and have a look at this latest feedback, or on whatever given day that you might be doing that job or task. So compliance, and so we've sort of covered some specifics in terms of compliance management and in relation to the standards, but obviously within your compliance management system, it makes sense. Obviously, as an RTO, you've got to maintain an EVETMIS compliant student management system, and if you're CRICOS registered, you need to be collecting and managing all of that data as well. Ensuring you've got an automated system for USI validation is obviously critical. Document management is another area that I see that RTOs don't necessarily have good systems and processes in place, particularly around version control. And similar to the different registers that you've seen, eSkilled student management system has a document management system, makes it really easy to access any of your compliance docs, update new versions, and make sure there's one source of truth. I think when you have folder systems and staff sharing files around no one source of truth, then that's when you can get into problems with multiple versions of documents, people still working off old documents when there's new documents in the system. So any critical compliance documents we would recommend having in a central document management system. eSkilled has that built into it in our compliance section, but that's an area that I believe that RTOs often have some areas of improvement, and obviously a system to manage and your funded contracts and claims and reporting in particular, because obviously there's pretty rigorous reporting requirements across states, and it can all be pretty complex. So having a good student management system to manage that data side of funded contracts is really critical. Another thing to think about is compliance of your certificates. Obviously, there's really clear requirements on what can and can't be put on a certificate. So within our system, whenever a certificate is issued, you can have a task checklist for somebody, or due to be issued, you can have a task checklist for whoever's responsible for issuance to check the certificate's going to the right person and that they are actually due that certificate. But our certificates also have QR codes, which if your students are handing those certificates out to employers or employers or basically any agency that wants to validate that certificate, they can simply scan that QR code and put the cert number and the student's name, and our online system will automatically validate that certificate. So it just saves RTOs a lot of handling of emails and phone calls for certificate validations, and makes that that compliance task a lot more simple. So good governance really requires good business intelligence, particularly CEOs. As a CEO of an RTO, I understand the responsibility that comes with signing that the annual sign off to say that your organization is 100% compliant, or if it's not, why. Intelligence and having good systems to provide feedback mechanisms on compliance of the organization, I think, is critical to helping CEOs manage risk and mitigate risk. So Our system has built-in financial management dashboards, and obviously financial management forms a big part of governance for a CEO of an organization. I would so basically, and I think the benefit of the financial reporting within the student management system, other than something like Xero, and by the way, I definitely think your student management system that you're using should definitely be connected back to whatever accounting system that you're using. But the benefit of having it in the student management system, having good reporting and dashboarding and information within the student management system, is you can see better, I think, more granular performance across the organization, particularly in relation to performance of different programs, to make sure that you're not, programs are running profitably, and you're managing cash flow within different areas. If you're running programs across different locations, you want to be able to see whether those locations are all performing, or if you've got underperforming locations, you might need to do something about that. So I think from a governance perspective, financial management is critical. Like in our system, you can see unpaid invoices, for instance, and we've got to manage our debts and finances to stay viable, and that's all made really clear in the standards. So our system does help really with staying on top of that and seeing a quick overall health check of the organization across programs and revenue across programs. So if you do have poor performing programs that are losing money, they become pretty clear pretty quickly without having to dig too deep. So yeah, we can see revenue by program, projected payment plan revenue, revenue by location, unpaid debtors, aged debtors or unpaid invoices. So the other thing about financial management and governance is having systems that will manage the collection and collation of revenue, right? So our system can automate all of your payment plans. It helps you manage things like your caps, the $1,500 cap on enrollment fee if you don't have tuition insurance. The maximum you can charge students is $1,500 up front. If your fees are greater than that, then you need a system to be able to easily manage that information and report on that. Rupinder, I can see your hand up. Do you mind just popping your question into the question up the top on the top right? There's a little area for asking questions, and what I will do is I'll answer any questions at the end, and we'll aim to get to you before the end of the session. So if you can just pop your question in there, it just means we can deal with all the questions at the end, if that's okay. So yeah, automated invoicing and payment plans, so you can stay on top of all of those payments and make sure you're getting paid on time. Obviously super critical. Feeding all of that information, that financial management information, back into MyOb and whatever financial management systems you're using in real time, so you're getting real information and can stay on top of the financial management and maintaining your financial viability. Obviously, we've seen a lot of RTOs disappear in 2024 due to financial viability, and making sure that you maintain the financial viability, or the CEO is, or your management team is really critical. So you need good tools, and again, siloed systems is, I think, really dangerous. If your student management system and all your revenue data is not automatically feeding into Xero, that becomes a big problem for someone doing data entry. And I think the more manual processes that you have within organizations just opens up risk. So I definitely think that you want to make sure that whatever systems that you do have are talking in real time to each other. So enrollment dashboards provide insights across your student cohorts. Obviously, it gives you information so you know how you're tracking in terms of enrollments, but it'll also, on our enrollment dashboards, we can even see completion straight away. So you'll see on the slide there, when you hover over a graph on any given program, you can see how many enrolled, how many completed. Obviously, completion is critical to monitoring the effectiveness of your training. And so I see our enrollment dashboard as being really critical to just that, again, overall health check of your organization and making sure that you've got students completing your courses. Obviously, the information on this one's from a demo system. Obviously, you'd hope to have slightly better completion stats than are showing in some of these courses or programs. So basically we can see stats across the organization. We can filter by months, financial years, whatever period we want to drill down into the information. Enrollments and completions are easy to track. More importantly, student engagement is front and center in the new standards. So managing risk in relation to completions is really important. Our dashboards will show things like students at risk. So, students that maybe they're halfway through, but they're not halfway completed. They haven't completed half of their course yet. So that's, they're starting to fall behind. You want to know early in the game. You don't want to be, students getting to the end of their courses and have not taken action to support those students. So again, all of these dashboards, although they're useful, they also show ASCL when they come to audit, they actually show how you monitor and analyze the data within your system to monitor and support your students. Students at risk with low attendance. So again, attendance is important for every RTO to manage, but if you're a CRICOS RTO, it's actually written into the legislation that students can't fall below 80%. So within our system, we've got a number of attendance widgets. Students with 90% attendance, obviously if you've got students in that 90%, they're probably starting to get at risk. You might want to get in contact with them. You'll see the export button on on any of these widgets or graphs. The data from there can be easily exported, and you can click on any bar within the graph and it will show you the underlying data within that as well. So from the perspective of collecting, collating, analyzing, and monitoring all of that data, all of this stuff is just going to help you align your systems and processes to the new standards for RTOs. So for those who aren't aware, and I think there's still probably a number of RTOs that might not have seen the new requirements for language literacy and digital skills assessment requirements in the new standards. I think that this is going to catch a lot of RTOs unaware, and I've been to a number of compliance sessions that haven't really highlighted this, so I wanted to make a point of it. RTOs are going to be required to review skills and competencies of VET students prior to enrollment, including language literacy and numeracy, proficiency, and digital skills as appropriate to the training product. So digital skills and LLN assessment is now going to, well, as of July 1, is going to be required under the new standards for RTOs, and that's got to happen prior to enrollment in the program that they're enrolling in. So that's a pretty onerous requirement on RTOs to do a lot of work prior to even enrolling the student in a course. I know a lot of RTOs are doing LN assessments, but a lot of the time it's post-enrollment, not prior to enrollment. So with this coming, eSkilled's actually developed a system to help manage and automate as much of this as possible to streamline the process, because we understand the cost and the resourcing associated with this type of requirement. So basically from enrollment online through our enrollment form, instead of coming into the student management system as an enrollment, the enrollment can come in as an application, or the student's prospective enrollment can come through as an application, and that will show up in current applications received on your RTO dashboard. So straight away, any admin staff can see if they've got applications to process. But the system will automatically, although it's an application in the student management system, once you've got the setup in your student management system, it will automatically enroll the student in their language literacy and numeracy assessment. and we're working on a digital skills assessment at the moment, and that will definitely be available before these new standards come into effect, and it will work in the same way. So basically, students will automatically be enrolled into 2 assessments, an LLN assessment and a digital skills assessment, but in the student management system, they'll still remain as application received. That's really important. We've designed our LLN assessment to map to the Australian Core Skills Framework, and you can set the LLN levels for any given program, and then when the students complete their LLN assessment, it will provide a spiky profile of their performance against the Australian Core Skills Framework, against reading, learning, writing, and that will be available to the student on their profile on their LMS, and that same information is passed to the student management system as well. So in the student management system record, your administrators, compliance staff, any of your LLN support staff can have access to the same information. Spiky profiles will show there. But most importantly, if the learner doesn't meet the benchmarks of entry for that particular program, a task can automatically be generated by using automations. So your LLN support staff for that program can contact the student and work out next steps in terms of what support they'll need, or whether they're going to be able to complete the program. And they can obviously keep track of any notes and discussions in the action plan around supporting that student in the LLN support plan notes on the student record on the LLN tab. So, like I said, the same exact process will exist for digital skills as well. If the student has met all the benchmarks, they'll automatically, you can set the student management system up to automatically enroll in their course. So no one needs to do anything as long as they've passed their LLN assessment. But this system just ensures you can automate the support process where students don't meet the needs or the requirements for that course. If they do, they'll just automatically be logged in. They can start their course and away they go. If it's online, or obviously the moment their program starts, whether it's in class or wherever, yeah, they'll be able to complete that course. So as you can see, I'm a big believer in automating everything. I believe that automation and automated systems are the key to underpinning a quality management and a good governance system. So yeah, I believe in automating manual tasks, automatically send custom reports to your management team. So our system has automations which will allow you to basically set up reports and fire them out to whatever staff need those reports on a weekly, daily, whatever basis. That might be, hey, we've got new applications received today going to your admission staff, or maybe it's like students at risk report going to a trainer in that program. Whatever it might be, automating that information, analyzing that information, creating the report and getting it to the people that need it to ensure that you're taking the appropriate steps is all part of and all critical to your self-assurance process. That means automating email notifications, automating text message notifications if needed, importing and updating scope directly from TGA on our system. It periodically updates your scope automatically to ensure that your scope scope within the system is current. So if a unit supersedes, it'll be updated as superseded in the unit, so you know you can do something about it. No one has to go and check TGA to make sure that the system's up to date, because that just doesn't happen. And so often RTOs have units sitting in the system showing as current and they're superseded, and obviously that creates a lot of problems for RTOs. Automating your enrollments and from the perspective of collecting all the critical data that you need up front. We are just about to launch like really granular new drag and drop enrollment forms that allow you to basically put any data on that enrollment form that you want from custom data. We already have, really flexible enrollment forms, but that's just going to add a new level of data collection, collation, and analytics, and that's again in preparation for these standards. Automatically having the information from your learning management system, updating your student management system.
I think you might have some audio issues, Scott. It's cut out for us.
Back on.
There we go. Gotcha.
Can you hear me now?
Yep. Got you now.
Okay. Cool. Sorry, everyone. Where did you lose me? Or where did I
It's
leave
only,
you? Or where did we lose?
only about 10 or 15 seconds. It's not long. It
Okay.
was around
So,
the automate enrollments, I think.
yeah. So obviously automating enrollments, it's critical to collecting and collating all of that eventmas data, contract reporting data, and making sure that you're on top of all of that collection and collation, and most importantly, automatically updating your information from your learning management system to your student management system. So I think what I was saying when I cut off is, so often I see RTOs that students started in the learning management system or started their course in the real world, but the student management system is showing not yet started. That's a compliance issue. And if you don't have integrated systems, so your learning management system doesn't talk to your student management system, you're gonna, it's a huge challenge to stay on top of every unit result and making sure the dates are right for started and completed. And so often, RTOs are relying on proposed start dates and proposed end dates, and not tracking the real stuff just because it's too difficult. So if your learning management system isn't connected to your student management system, I really recommend finding a way to get that to happen. In our system, if a student starts their course in the learning management system, it will update the unit in the student management system as continuing enrolling, which is the correct outcome for a student that started, and it will update the start date. So the data is always up to date in real time, and there's not, dates and outcomes from an event compliance error and reporting issues is pretty much one of the biggest error problems that RTO compliance staff have to deal with in systems. That stuff's all should be just kept up to date in real time, and it shouldn't require lots of human inputs. So yeah, automating everything, I believe, is absolutely critical to a good self-assurance and RTO management system. Okay, let's go to the next slide. So yeah, I mentioned earlier, automatically creating and assigning tasks with checklists to anyone based on any system event. Our system will just basically allow you to completely implement your procedures for your operations within the system and ensuring that everyone's task. We've got a really cool, funky Kanban task management board where if I've got a task for myself, I can just drag it into in progress and it will automatically update the status of that task if I'm completing it. And away you go in terms of completing that task. Once I've finished that task, I can just drag it to completed. The status will automatically be updated, and all tasks can have a checklist. So, for instance, one of the other things too that I love is that we can assign tasks to teams. So if you've got an admission team of 3 people, you don't want to be assigning tasks individually, because if someone's away for that day, your tasks aren't going to get done. So if you've got an admissions team, all enrollments related stuff can go to that team in terms of tasks automatically. And then if I'm in that team, I just simply drag that task from my open column there that you can see on the screen into in progress, and it will remove that task from the other people in that team, so I can take that task and away I go and process whatever I've got to do with it for the day. Same thing if I've got, an issuance task, so if I go and check some certificates, whatever, all that stuff can be automated task checklist to ensure that all of that information is, or all of those tasks are always up to date and stayed on top of. So yeah, you automatically notified it in the system when you log in if you've got tasks or overdue tasks. And our task admin management system is global task administration. So if you're an admin manager or you have an admin role in the system, you can actually see all tasks across the system to make sure that there's no overdue tasks that are falling through the gaps. Which again is critical to make sure you're on top of all those compliance concerns within your organization. Something that you don't see if you use Outlook tasks, for instance. You can't see, has John done that task, or has Jenny done that task, or whatever. Within our system, you can quickly and easily see if there's any issues just using the task admin management checkboard. Here's an example of a certification checklist. The system won't let you close a task if all the checklist components are not complete. So you can close it, but you can't complete it. It won't complete unless all the steps have been marked as complete. And yeah, we can assign tasks to individuals or teams, which is pretty unique across student management systems. So yeah, portals for everyone. Again, self-assurance and governance. Basically, we believe that all stakeholders should have, whatever access to the system that they need to help you collect, collate, analyze, and report on that information, right? We started this with, first part in the governance thing is that you collect information from all stakeholders. Well, the easiest way to do that is provide them access to the system within whatever parameters they need to do whatever they need to do. So that's all controlled within the system. So if you deal with international agents, they can have their portal, trainer portals, employment network provider portals, employer portals, training provider portals. And within those portals, all of those stakeholders have their own reporting, own dashboards. They can access documents, see their financial invoices, if they're companies, for instance, or agents or your clients. I think we're missing like a client portal there, but yeah, so there should be that as well. So yeah, quality assessment system is obviously absolutely critical. Biggest area of non-compliance for RTOs is poor or assessments that don't meet the requirements of units of competence and align to the standards for RTOs in terms of principles of assessment and the rules of evidence. So in our system, we just provide you with tools that make it easier to capture knowledge and skill evidence online. So even if you're delivering in class, you can still capture that evidence and or students can capture that evidence, or trainers and assessors can capture that evidence via video if they need to, and that information can automatically be streamed on a device and saved into their assessment task. That can then be played back later. So assessors don't necessarily even need to assess or complete that observation form at the time. When they've got time, they can sit down and actually properly assess that. It can be done in real time as well. We have the same observation form if you're just doing a workplace observation, but there is the flexibility there for an assessor to capture lots of evidence on site and then go back and do that actual assessment judgment later, or do it on site at the time if they want to. So you can create digital observation forms and capture all the evidence, and within our system, it will automatically, mark the assessor as the assessor and date and timestamp each item, the opportunity for feedback, and third-party reports or workplace reports. Students can have assessors sign off, their supervisors and workplaces sign off digitally on their device to capture all that workplace evidence. So often this is done by documents, and then someone's got to go and have to scan it and upload it. And, there's just too much opportunity with systems and processes like that for that not to happen, or that document to get lost, or something happened, supposed to take it back to the office, don't know what happened to it, or whatever it might be. So, if it's straight into the system, there's no opportunity for evidence to go astray or missing. Big believer in having information directly in the system, and obviously everything can be automatically date and time stamped, so it just reduces the amount of duplication, of the end user having to input that information every single time on the form. You can transform your document-based assessments into, I think I'm having connection issues. How's my audio now? Is that okay? Can you hear me
Yeah,
now?
it's okay at the moment. It was a little bit
Okay.
fuzzy earlier, but yeah, it's come good.
Okay, yeah, I just saw a poor network quality. Sorry, everyone, if that's impacting the voice quality. Um, so yeah, we can eliminate documents if need be. Obviously, that's not necessary or required for everyone, but basically our systems provide you with a streamlined option for students just to enter their information directly into the system via their device. So evidence is captured directly with no one having to manage all of those documents, capture digital signatures. For any, obviously under the new standards, or not under the new standards, it's been around for a long time. ASQA's been out there clearly shouting from the rooftops that RTOs need to ways to capture authenticity of assessment evidence. Within our system, we have webcam screen captures to actually show that it's the student completing the assessment. And so when it comes to audit, you've actually got that evidence of authenticity. It's very, very difficult to prove authenticity without having adequate systems like this in place. The other I think here we go. ASQA frequently asked questions. Can ASQA provide examples of best practice for checking authenticity of online assessments? The first thing they recommended was calling the learners and asking questions related to the assessment submitted. Obviously, that sounds great, but it's not overly practical. Trying to get students on the phone to answer questions for every submitted assessment is just going to cause backlogs and things being assessed, because students can't get, you can't get hold of students a lot of the time on the phones to contact them, or come into the RTO to come and answer some more questions about your assessment. So I think having a webcam proctoring tool that captures evidence of the student completing their assessment is absolutely vital to meet that requirement, unless you want to be having somebody call every single student to check every assessment. I don't think that's realistic. Integrated AI, and obviously AI and education, and obviously the impacts on plagiarism, and authenticity of evidence is obviously really topical at the moment. It's a huge problem, and it's a challenge that everyone needs to consider. Our learning management system has a number of options for plugging in AI plagiarism and checking tools. So these will actually check for something and give you a likelihood that it's been plagiarized or it's written by AI. So then you can take action, or it'll flag it. There's some of these tools are better than others, and I definitely recommend that RTOs test and trial tools before going ahead and subscribing. These all plug into our learning management system, but they are all third-party paid plugins. But yeah, I think being able to integrate with these tools is actually critical. And yeah, ASQA's got a lot of information on their website about AI and plagiarism and what you need to do to show evidence that you're mitigating that risk. So definitely recommend reading some of that information if you haven't yet read it. So I'm over time, aren't I? I've actually exceeded time, so I might have to just sneak through, because this is taking a little bit longer than I thought. So um, I might just wrap up, because I'm wary that some people probably have already had to leave for next appointments. The rest of the presentation is around training and engaging your learners, and I think that uh, yeah, having your learners having engaging training is obviously critical, and you need to have systems and processes in place to manage your learners in terms of their engagement and their progression and their monitoring. We've talked about a lot of that, but actually the training side of it is what I was going to focus on next. I'm just going to jump to the end, and we were most of the way anyway, but and just close out. Um, yeah, so just in closing, hopefully I've been able to answer some questions around these topics that we started out to delve into, which is how do you use systems to manage training and assessment, learner support, trainer competency, and ensure you've got all the governance requirements in place in your RTO to stay on top of that. The core takeaway that I'd like to take away from the session is making sure that whatever systems you're using, whether you're using eSkilled system or any other system, first of all, those systems are set up, configured properly from the outset, and you're taking full advantage of all the mechanisms within those platforms to implement the types of things that we've just talked about throughout the session. If you have disconnected systems, I definitely recommend trying to find ways to plug them together and talk to each other to make sure that information is flowing from one to the other, and your management team, your compliance team have oversight across all of that information and have access to reporting, and automated tasking and flagging where there's potential issues within your organization. That's the only way I believe that RTOs can really self-assure. There's a lot of onus on RTOs under this new self-assurance requirements. I believe RTOs I think unfairly are unfairly picked on in the tertiary sector and have a huge number of compliance requirements and are audited closer and more forensically than any other sector. And for that reason, it's really critical to mitigate the risk that we've got these systems and processes in place. What we're going to do, just because we've run out of time, we will answer all these questions. And we're going to send those out to everyone on email. I just wary of keeping people back longer than needed. I hope that you've got some good value out of the session, and we look forward to going through the questions and answering those for you. So look out on your emails for those. And yeah, we will be doing some more detailed sessions as we get closer to the standards being implemented on various areas within the compliance areas and how to manage those better within your RTO. So thank you, everyone. Thanks for coming. I'm sorry we ran out of time. I probably packed this a bit full, and I'll end from that. And everyone, I hope you have a great day.
Thanks, everyone. You have a great day.